Hey, welcome back to Room 237. This is John coming at you with another comic book review because I haven't done one in forever. Batman Venom. Yeah, that glare sucks. Whatever, I'll have to do something about that later. Batman Venom. This is a story that came out in 1990. It was released in trade form in 93. This was originally part of Legends of the Dark Knight, which was just sort of it was just another Batman title that was running in the late 80s, early to mid 90s. Even the mid-late 90s even. It was a long-running title. But it was basically just to have small, more or less out-of-continuity stories, unless they wanted it to be in continuity, like this one eventually would be. Basically, right off the bat, this was a story. It's written by Denny O'Neil, who is one of the most legendary comic writers ever. Known for Batman, but, I mean, the guy was a huge progenitor in getting Batman to be taken seriously again in comics. You know, he was there. He, I think, co-created Ray Talia Al Ghul. I think Man-Bat. A lot of the characters from the 70s and 80s came from Denny O'Neil. And Neil Adams and whatnot. This is a story that he had tried to write 3 times. Not necessarily for Batman. He wrote it once in 70s or 80s under a different character. Then he wrote it again because he didn't like the first time. Then he wrote it again. And then either the third time he wrote this, or he did a third time then after he did this. But either way, he wanted to do an anti-drug story. Sort of a Dare story, which early 90s Dare was getting huge with their anti-drug campaigns. So this story actually became pretty huge. And actually, I'm going to turn this just so you can actually see the cover. This cover, I hate. I hate this cover with a passion. But I was able to get it off eBay for $5 because the real cover that I like, which is this one, only it doesn't have the Legends of the Dark Knight banners on it. It just says Batman and Venom, but it has this picture. That was released in 2012, and I've seen that copy go anywhere between $200 and $700 on eBay. So, fuck that. I'll live with this. But yeah, I don't like this cover at all. I mean, it's really short. It was released in 4 prestige format comics. It's a very straightforward story. I mean, by the time I got a hold of this, I was still reading Scott Snyder's run, which tends to be very wordy and very deep and thought-provoking. Not to say that this is dumb, because it's not. But, it's just very straightforward storytelling. It was kind of a breath of fresh air. Short narratives. Everybody talks in a few sentences. You always get the point of what the story is. Basically, Batman, he's been working on this case trying to find this missing girl. He finally finds her down in a sewer. Yeah, sewer. But she's tied to a chair. And she's got all this debris on top of her. And he can't get to her. And it's pretty horrific. I mean, because she dies. He's been at it for days. He's tired. He's weak. He's at half capacity. And he wasn't strong enough to save her. And we all know Batman does not take failure lightly. Because, I mean, this was originally released in 1990 or 91, I think. So, I mean, this was after a death in the family, after Jason Todd. This was... Oh. There have been plenty of failures at this point. That was his greatest failure. But of course, you know, this story would lead into another great big story with a failure, but I'll get into that. Judging by the title, even if you don't know the story or the continuity, you can already tell what it is. So basically, you know, he's beating himself up for not being able to save this girl. And, you know, he decides he's going to go tell the girl's dad, who's a doctor. He couldn't give a shit. The doctor doesn't give a shit. He just says, hey, well, I noticed you're working at half capacity. Why don't you try this drug I've been working on called Venom? It'll help you with shit. So he takes it, and I mean, he is just... You know, he's lifting near 1,000 pounds. He's in the biggest shape of his life. He's not tired. It's basically a steroid. It's a steroid on steroids. And eventually, you know, he drops the Batman costume and persona. And he just dresses sort of like a noir guy. Like, if I could find one here. Like, he just dresses like a guy that would be in, like, a bad guy detective story. I'm not going to flip through it. Just a trench coat and a fedora, and he just brutalizes the hell out of people. To the point where he laughs maniacally, like he enjoys hurting people. Like there's a dark side to this drug. And eventually he becomes super dependent on it, and the doctor stops giving it to him. And he doesn't know what to do, and, you know, there's this horrible part where, you know, him and Alfred get into it. And, you know, they're arguing, and Bruce Wayne pretty much just tells him, you know, like, maybe you should just leave. And he does. Which is really sad. It's always a bummer when you get parts of the story where, you know, Bruce is an asshole to Alfred, but this is one of them. And then the doctor just ups and leaves. And he's not given the drug anymore. He doesn't know what to do. So that's when you get the part 3. Which part 3 is... I'll show you the cover of it. He decides he's going to pretty much detox himself. He gets Alfred to come back. He says, I gotta clean my system. He locks himself down into the Batcave. He says, don't let me out for a month. A full month. I gotta clean this stuff out. And, you know, there's parts where it says like 23 days. Alfred's listening. And it mentions how he hears sobbing. But... no matter what, he won't disobey his orders. He'll leave him down there. Till eventually he comes out looking like this. His bat suit's all tattered. He's got the huge-ass beard. It was just like, alright, we gotta fix this. So the doctor has fled to Santa Prisca. Or Prisa. I've heard Prisa, I've heard Prisca. It's spelled Prisca. I call it Prisca. Santa Prisca. And there's this, you know, white-haired general who the doctor's working with, who pretty much, he wants to use this newer form of Venom to create super obedient, mega strong super soldiers. But it doesn't really work. The only one it seems to work on is the general's own son. And we see that the son, he's kind of stupid, he's not all there. He's kind of a wuss. And he's falling in love with a Latino maid. But the more of this Venom he's given, the more bulked up and the more mean and everything he's getting. Till eventually he's just an asshole to that woman too. And you know, he even starts like being rough with her. It's like, you were never like this. And he's like mean. He even hits her. It's like, what the hell? And then you get this great part where, you know, he's all shaven. Bruce Wayne's all shaven. He's just like, let's get to work. Like, yeah, they're gonna solve this shit. But then you get some really dopey stuff, like part 4, where he fights a shark. Now, I always knew that this book is the one where he fights a shark, but I thought it was when he was on Venom. This is well after. I mean, he doesn't go all crazy fighting the shark. In fact, it's actually kind of a short part. But, actually, where even is it? Must be a really short fucking part, because it's not even really in here that much. Oh, yeah. Batman fighting a shark. But basically, you know, Batman gets back to the beach. He fights Timothy. That's the general's son that they've been juicing up on the steroid. The doctor offers Batman more of this drug. Of course, he's just like, oh, I want it, but no. And he pretty much puts him in this situation where, you know, he has to... He's trapped in this room, and the only way he can get enough strength is if he takes the venom, and the doctor leaves a jar full of it for him. And there's this great artwork. The artwork is by... I gotta get the whole guy's name because I can't remember it. I have read this book, yes. Pencils, Russel, Braun, and inks by Jose Louis Garcia Lopez. So, you know, he starts wondering how, you know, I should just take it, but then you get this great artwork of what he sees himself as, like, feeding for it. He's just like, no. And he rigs this whole pulley system. Because pretty much he has to find a way to pull down on something. It's been a while since I've read it. But yeah, you know, he creates this pulley system so it can... Pretty much he has to pull down on something to pull a wall up. Creates a pulley with weights. He uses his head. He's a detective. Something we need more of the movies. Batman is able to turn the general's son against him, but the doctor gets away. But Batman has learned a valuable lesson in performance-enhancing drugs. Now, right, this trade came out in '93. That was when Knightfall started. Of course, Knightfall gave us Bane, which Bane came from Santa Prisca. He was a prisoner. He was a test subject with Venom. So, meant to say, I guess it's to say that shortly after this book, or while this book is going on, Bane is out somewhere, being a prisoner. And eventually the doctor's methods will get to him and he'll become Bane. But yeah, it's a really short story. I kind of ramble through it very quickly, but it's just a good, fun, short story. I mean, technically it is out. It is in continuity, but when it came out, it wasn't supposed to be. Or it wasn't intended to upon initial release. But because of Knightfall, because of Bane as a whole character, yeah, the story is now in continuity. I mean, it's pretty simple reading. It's nothing like Scott Snyder or like Frank Miller or Alan Moore or anything like that. It's just very straightforward. Some of the stuff, like the shark fight, is kind of silly, but I really liked the whole having to detox, struggling with stuff myself in the past. It kind of personal story for me, how much of a dick he was to Alfred, and how sorry he was after. He's just like, you know what, I'm really gonna fight through this no matter what. I'm not gonna relapse. I'm gonna solve this shit. I don't know why this book was so hard to find for me. I mean, on eBay you could get this crappy version for really cheap. I would just settle for that if I was anybody. I mean, it would be great to have that other edition with the cool cover, but they're fucking expensive. But yeah, Batman Venom. It is known as one of the best stories out there. Just some of the stuff is kind of cheesy. But, even if you don't have to read all Batman stories, just the good ones, I would still pick this up. Like I said, it's very short. I read this in like an hour. So, but I read this like last summer, so I read this a while ago. That's why I went through it really fast, because I don't remember a whole lot. But I really do like this story. I know a lot of people like this story. For the most part, it is pretty good. I mean, what would it take to get Batman to his lowest point? Failing to the point of having a little girl die because he's too weak and too tired to save her. That he turns to performance-enhancing drugs, and it just ruins everything that Batman is. And then he has to come out of it. Very interesting concept. And I think Denny O'Neil did a great job writing it. Just a fun, short... I mean, fun's a weird word because it is kind of depressing, but still just a good, short Batman story. Definitely check it out. For Road 237, that's all I got on Batman Venom, so I'm out. Thank you.